And good morning. My name is Ryan Belmore. I am the owner and publisher of What's Up Newp. And joining me here today is Mr. Frank Prosnitz. And Frank, how you doing, man?
Well, I'm doing fine, but it's a little disconcerting this morning
Why is that, sir?
because you're not wearing a hat.
I knew you were going to say that. But it's all right. How do you feel about our colorful background this morning?
I like it. It's good.
It's
It says it all.
That's it. And the Secretary of State just joined us. She's given us a thumbs up, so she likes it.
All
So
right.
what we'll do is we'll bring her on, and I'll let you give her a proper introduction.
Joining us is Nellie Gorbea. She's Secretary of State. I'm going to say something I probably shouldn't, but I'm a fan. I'm a fan of Nellie Gorbea. I think she's doing a great job. She gets some good points all around from a lot of people in the way that she's handled things, and you know what, she's about as transparent as any politician I've seen. So good morning, Nellie. How are you?
Good morning, Frank. Good morning, Ryan. It's great to see both of you, and I love the background.
You might have to save that introduction.
I know. Yeah, there are days in my life, mostly at home, when that introduction will lift my spirits.
Well, there you go. There you go. So I'm going to. There are several things that we want to chat about this morning. The election, certainly, but there's some developments overnight relative to the census that I think are pretty important. And
they
are. We can start with that.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And this is really good news for Rhode Island, although part of me says don't procrastinate because we get maybe another month. No, so basically what's happened is that there's been federal cases that now we're going to be hopefully getting another month. The Trump administration had wanted to end the census count on September 30th, and that's going to be extended, which means that we can get more people counted in Rhode Island. We're still undercounted in our state, according to the census's calculations. And this is a really big deal. And it's a big deal in two ways. One is, we have two members of Congress right now, and we're on the verge of losing one of them. And this is beyond politics or who gets what seat. This is about our voice in Washington. We have two voices right now. Two voices is always better than just one. And it's also it's two people that can be on committees that can get our viewpoints across in a variety of settings instead of just one. And then on the other hand, really important is that this number, the population number that we get, is going to be with us for the next 10 years as the number that helps divide the federal budget. So every person that we get counted in the US Census is millions of dollars over the next 10 years in money for education, money for roads, money for small businesses. So it is truly, really important that every single person in Rhode Island, no matter what their immigration status is, no matter what their age is, children tend to be undercounted in the census. We need to make sure that every living body in Rhode Island is counted in the U.S. Census.
One of the things that I think, if I'm an immigrant, an undocumented immigrant, I get concerned when somebody wants to take information about me and wondering where that's going. But they're safe. This is not information that can be used against them.
No, it can't be used against anybody. I mean, whether you're undocumented or not. And this has really been a very important message in those communities that has been carried by trusted sources, pastors, health professionals, social service agencies are trying to calm people's fears about what the census means and how it can be used. I myself, I'm fluent in Spanish, so I've done a lot of Spanish language interviews of trying to just convey to people, look, if I, as an elected official, wanted to get something as non-controversial as, oh, U.S. Census, can you tell me what new roads you found so that I can put them into your voter address list? The answer is no. And I tried. And it's like, no. Every single piece of information that goes into the census is on an individual basis is absolutely kept locked private, and it's a felony for anybody to disclose that.
How can people fill out the census?
So it's really easy this time around, I have to say. I did it online myself, but you can also do it over the phone, or if you still can find the paper form that they sent you, you can do that as well. But the easiest way is online or over the phone, and you can go to the census website to find both of those, the phone numbers, or you can call 211, which is the United Way's helpline, and they will give you the number for the census information number.
So in
And
spite,
go ahead, Frank.
No, I was going to say, so in spite of what happened in court yesterday, do it quickly.
Yes,
Fill out that
absolutely.
census.
When will we know if it's for sure extended or not extended? Will that come out maybe on Monday?
I don't know. Yeah, it's such a breaking news that, I mean, I think it lifted all our spirits, and those of us that are trying to get everybody counted. But and this is such a litigious environment right now in our country. It's really distressing. All we're trying to do is to make sure that everybody is counted as the Constitution requires us to do, and as federal law requires us to do, so that we can fairly and appropriately divide the resources in this country.
So let's keep that deadline of trying to fill out your census by the time October arrives. But also, there is a deadline right around the corner, October 3rd, as well as October 13th, and some other important deadlines coming up here out of your office.
Actually, it's October 4th.
Okay.
October 4th is the
Ryan, you got every other date
deadline.
but the right one.
Yes. So October 4th is the deadline to register to vote in Rhode Island. We have a 30-day blackout period. It's in our Constitution. I would have changed it otherwise to make it a little bit less onerous. But for 30 days before an election or a primary, we cannot change the voter rolls. So if you want to be part of this tsunami of an election, this historic election for the century, you need to make sure that you're registered by October 4th. I also encourage people who are registered to just go online and check their information. So if you go to vote.ri.gov, you can actually go into your voter record and see where you're registered, what kind of political party or whether you're an independent, you're registered, where your polling location is going to be. All of that information is there. You can even see a sample ballot, what your ballot is going to look like. So I really want to encourage every Rhode Islander, every person watching this, to go to vote.ri.gov. Help us out, because you're our best defense against any hacking. If I start hearing reports that something's wrong, it'll be because voters are checking their information. And sometimes people, in the process of moving, they just forget. It's one of those things. They think that because they filled out the postal card, it automatically, got changed in our voter registry. That's not the case. So go to vote.ri.gov and make sure you're registered to vote.
Let's talk a little bit about mail ballots.
Yes.
How people can get them now. Everybody has got an invitation in the mail to apply for a mail ballot.
Yeah, maybe I should have designed it as an invitation. That's an interesting
There
idea
you
that
go.
you just planned it. A party invitation.
Yeah, there it is. If they haven't gotten it, they can go online and find it. And then they have to return the ballot by when?
They have to return it by October 13th, and that's in city or town hall or at the Board of Elections. So do not think that it's a postmark. It is received by October 13th. And what I did this year is, because of the pandemic, I just wanted to make sure that everybody who is eligible can and does vote. And so we're giving people options. I used federal monies thanks to our hardworking congressional delegation. We got $3 million in monies specifically to deal with COVID-19 and its impact on the elections. And so for many people, and I'm going to say it, over 65, we found that they overwhelmingly want to vote from home, and they don't want to be able to have to go out. So we mailed a mail ballot application to every active voter, and all you have to do is to check off the box that applies to you. Usually it's number 4 if it's because of COVID that you don't want to risk exposure. And Then we included a postage paid envelope. Oh, I'm sorry. And then you sign it. And we have a postage paid envelope, and you can either drop it in the mail, but if it's getting close to October 13th, definitely just drop it in one of the drop boxes at city or town hall.
If someone forgets how they actually signed their voter registration, Frank instead of Franklin, Joe instead of Joseph, how can they find that out easily? Can they find it out on the paperwork they receive for the mail-in ballot?
So they can't have, no, they cannot on the mail ballot application, but you can call your city or town local board of canvassers and they'll look it up for you. That's pretty easy. They're really very helpful there.
Can we find it online?
No, because we don't want to actually put people's signatures online. That would make it easier for people to forge it. That's one of our precautions against people ask me, oh, how do we know that somebody's not impersonating somebody through mail ballots? I mean, it's actually pretty tough when you think about it. You would have to know how that person signs. You'd have to be able to do a forgery. It's a felony. You'd be risking jail time and thousands of dollars in fines. It's just really not worth it.
Now, I've seen lots of confusion. A lot of people talking about it online. I don't know if it's confusion, but if you get a mail ballot and then all of a sudden miss the deadline or decide, you know what, I'm going to vote in person. What should you do with that mail ballot that you've gotten? Should you bring it with you if you go to vote in person? Help clarify that.
So yeah. So the deadline of October 13th is to send for us to receive your application for a mail ballot. So say you get it to city or town hall on the 13th. You can expect within a few days we will mail you the mail ballot. Now, it's say it's October 18th. You got plenty of time to fill it out and send it back way before November 3rd. And by the way, you can go to vote.ri.gov and track your mail ballot application and your mail ballot. So you can see when it was received, when each of these is received, whether it's been approved, whether it's been rejected. So all of that is online, and you can track it just like you do your Amazon package.
Yeah.
But as you get closer to the election, you may feel like, okay, now it's November. I'm going to say October 31st. And I've heard a lot of noise about, the post office, and I don't feel comfortable putting it in the mail. So there are now drop boxes throughout all 39 cities and towns. And you don't have to put it in just in the one that is for your community. You could be, if you're commuting to Westerly, you could put it in the Westerly box. It doesn't matter. Those are election only drop boxes that you could drop those mail ballots in. And then in addition to that, the Board of Elections is allowing that you could go on November 3rd and put it into a special mail ballot box that they will have at every polling location.
Are we encouraging people to vote twice as the president is?
No, I'm not. Absolutely not. And you know what? You can't. Once you get a mail ballot application in and the mail ballot is sent to you, you're marked in our central voter registration system. And so even if you show up at the polling location and say, I couldn't find my mail ballot, it didn't come for me, you're not going to be allowed to do a live ballot, as we call it, into the tabulator. You will be then asked to go to a special desk and fill out a provisional ballot. It's the same ballot, but the envelope that it's in is one in which you explain why you need to vote, because our records show that we sent you a mail ballot.
Lots of questions that have been raised by the president in particular about the safety, honesty of mail ballots and voting in general. As far as I understand, all of those have virtually been debunked.
Absolutely, each and every one. And what's interesting about this is they've been debunked by both Democratic and Republican secretaries of state. The Secretary of State of Washington State is a Republican. They have been doing vote by mail for everybody. Like, they actually don't even apply for a mail ballot in Washington State. They get the ballot mailed to each and every person who's on the voter lists. And they've been doing this for decades with virtually no voter fraud. It's the same case in in Oregon, Washington State, Hawaii, Utah, and Colorado. So this year, that's been expanded. California is doing it too, and a number of other states. I think they're up to about 9 that are sending the ballots directly. I didn't think that was prudent for our electoral tradition, if you will. And so, but I did feel it important that people knew that they had this safe way to vote from home by just filling out the mail ballot application. So yeah, the noise that the president is creating is very unfortunate, because key to every election is people's trust in the results. And I can tell Rhode Islanders that absolutely they can trust the integrity of the elections in Rhode Island. We have people from all political persuasions involved in the administration of this election cycle. And we will find anybody who tries to skirt the law. We have audit procedures in place. It's a tight system, and people can absolutely trust it. The most important thing is to ignore the noise and just go ahead and vote in whatever way you feel comfortable voting.
How would you respond to this? I saw on Facebook a post by a former Republican lieutenant governor candidate who had posted, should he be telling his Democrat friends not to vote? It absolutely blew my mind, because I thought our system was we wanted as many people to vote as legally possible.
Absolutely. Yeah, no, every eligible voter can and should vote. It's been certainly my goal as your Secretary of State from the very minute I stepped into the office. And we've gone through and improved systems and made sure that we use technology to further help us, both in the integrity of the system as well as in the ease to election officials, so that we're not doing repetitive tasks that a computer or a machine could do. Every time you do those improvements with technology, it's an opportunity to further tighten the safeguards in our voting systems. So that's why I believe Rhode Island ranks among the top in the country with regards to its election system.
I don't know if you've thought much past this election, but is this the new normal where we should start getting used to voting in this way? Or do you think we will go back to everybody going to the voting booth? Or do you think there'll be an uptick in mail ballots going forward in years to come?
I think this is the new normal, perhaps not as heavy on the vote from home, but it's hard to say. Early in-person voting is now a law as of this. So this is not under executive order. We now have a law that says that early in-person voting 20 days before an election is allowed in Rhode Island. So that feature is going into the future. People's lives are complicated, and government should be responding to where people are. If you look, actually, one of the duties that I have is that I oversee the state archives. And a couple of years back, we did an exhibit at the state archives on 380 years of I voted, because that's how long we've been voting in Rhode Island. And what was neat about that exhibit is you could see, how voting has changed over time. We have this idea that somehow, because voting hasn't changed much in our lifetimes, that it's always been this way. It hasn't been. And so, systems are there to be adapted and improved as people's needs change.
Let me ask you about the voter count. I know in a lot of states, we're not going to expect any results on election night. What's the process here? When can we expect results? Not only on a presidential level, but also on local cities and towns.
Yeah. So in Rhode Island, the election process is what I call a three partner endeavor. So my office, we prepare the ballots, and we have the central voter registration system. The day of election, it's really heavy on the local boards of canvassers that have chosen the polling locations and run those on election day. And then they're assisted by the State Board of Elections, which is a separate agency that actually also counts the ballots. So I say that as a mini civics lesson for those of you who might think that I'm in charge of counting the ballots. I'm not. So the State Board of Elections has gotten permission from the governor through an executive order. Normally, they could only start counting mail ballots 14 days before. But now they're going to be able to start counting 20 days before, meaning that any mail ballot that's in their office 20 days, all through the 20 days before November 3rd is going to be processed. And if it's approved, then counted. The tabulations are secret. Nobody can know what's going on in that sense. But it helps the Board of Elections get ahead of the workload. You know, we've already had, I'm trying to see where my number is. We've already had 85,000 mail ballots requested for the November 3rd election. So that's a lot of mail ballots. Now, we had 100,000 requested for the June 2nd primary. And the board was able to do the final count within 3 days of that, the primary date on June 2nd. So just to give you a sense. But this is a much more complicated election with a lot of races at the local level. So just, November 3rd, everybody just breathe a sigh of relief that we've made it through the voting gauntlet. And let's just chill and wait. If you're really into this, you can actually go to the Board of Elections and watch them as they're doing this. Those are open processes. It's an open meeting that the board scrutinizes and approves mail ballots. So, I encourage people to, especially there's nothing like a dose of reality of real life to help calm the senses on a lot of these conspiracy theories.
Let's try to help our local board of canvassers a little bit. You still need poll workers, you still need volunteers, you still need people to get involved.
Absolutely. And they're not even volunteers. They actually get paid. Yes, we absolutely need poll workers throughout the entire state. And now I'm going to do a special pitch to our younger people, 16 and 17-year-olds in Rhode Island. If you pre-register before October 4th, you can actually get between, I think it varies from community to community how much you're paid, but it's about $125 for that day. And be part of, even though you can't vote, you can be part of history by being a poll worker on this really important election day. I think it's a really fascinating way to get be at ground level on election day. So absolutely call your local board of canvassers. I know Tracy Nelson in Newport is probably gathering names as we speak.
I like to take a look at the public filings at the Board of Elections, the campaign finance stuff, and particularly look at the fines, where we have over $4 million in fines that are out there from people who have not filed their paperwork or have been lax in filing their paperwork. And what always disturbs me is when I go down the list and I see people owing thousands of dollars to the Board of Elections and still able to run for office. Are we doing anything about it?
Yeah, I know there's been bills addressing that. There's been pushback by the ACLU because you're innocent until proven guilty. And so part of what we have to do is to get the board to streamline their processes because those fines automatically accrue. So, but it is a really troubling thing because if you're going to be in office, you should be complying with every single rule and requirement of that office, including campaign finance.
Nellie, I want to shift gears just a moment because I saw Mitch McConnell at a press conference the other day, or a press briefing, where he talked about the consequences from the Supreme Court nominee and how the Democrats were threatened everything, including possibly statehood for Washington and statehood for Puerto Rico, as if that was a bad thing. It seems that these people, we do collect taxes from them. Shouldn't they have representation?
Well, certainly from DC, you collect taxes. Puerto Rico is a different story. We don't pay federal taxes if you live in Puerto Rico. However, you do have other taxes that you do pay locally as well. And, we are U.S. citizens in Puerto Rico. I say we because I was born and raised there. People might not know that. I still have family there, and I am part of a 3-generation Army family. And Puerto Ricans have been fighting in every single conflict, way beyond in terms of percent of population than any other state in the union. And so I believe very strongly as Secretary of State that voting rights are a key American right. And so I would like nothing more than to see full citizenship with full voting rights and responsibilities of taxing and everything else granted to the people who live in DC and Puerto Rico.
Very good.
I know we have just a couple minutes here. Let's just do a quick recap. Biggest things you need people to know moving forward over the next couple weeks.
Okay, next deadline up is October 4th to register to vote. All the other deadlines you can find really easily on vote.ri.gov. We also have a new partnership with the United Way. So you can call 211 and just quiz them and say, I want to apply for a mail ballot. I have the application. When's my deadline? You don't have to know these things by heart. I do because I'm your Secretary of State, but you don't as the voter. So call 211 and they will answer all your voting related questions as well. And more than anything else, we have 3 ways to vote this election. Stay healthy. Do what makes sense for you and your family. That is paramount. We absolutely have made it so that you don't have to risk your health to fulfill your constitutional right to vote. So you can vote early by mail and drop it either in the mailbox or in a election drop box. You can vote early in person, 20 days, starting 20 days before November 3rd. Or you can go and join some of the crowds, hopefully not too many crowds, on November 3rd. And bring a mask if you can. And you know, just be ready to be a little bit patient with everybody.
And census deadlines?
Oh, census deadline, just go on to the census website today and get it done. We don't even want to talk deadlines with the census. Just do it today.
Excellent.
Excellent. All right. Did we miss anything today?
No, I don't think so. This is great. Thank you so much for helping us spread the word and for the amazing backdrop. I definitely want that.
There you go.
All right.
Nellie, thank you very much.
Thank you, Frank. Thanks, Brian.
We appreciate all the work that you do, and good luck as we go forward.
Thanks. Take care. Bye.
All right. Best of luck. All right, Frank, that's going to do it for us. We'll just go over the websites here one more time, and I have the banners. Here I have vote.os. She says vote.ri.gov. One or the other will bring it to you. You can check your voter registration. You can view your ballot. I've actually done this, and then I've called the Board of Canvassers to make sure something is right on it, to clarify something, because I recently moved. Board of Canvassers was very easy to talk to, looked it up, made a note. I encourage everybody to check their ballot. Make sure you're registered. You can even change your address on there. You can change your party affiliation if you want. All important things to do. And then the census here is right on the bottom, 2020census.gov, and you can participate in the 2020 census. You should have done it yesterday, so do it today and get it done. Very important, not just for the congressional seat, but also for funding for schools, roads, things like that.
Millions and millions of dollars in federal funds, and it's a 10-year deal. It can't be undone next year. What we do now is going to be in place for at least a decade.
That is true. The only surprise I have out of this, Frank, is that you did not ask her about any of her future political plans.
You know what? I'm as I say, I watched the campaign financing. She's continuing to amass a nice war chest. She's close to, I think, about 280,000. There are 3 who are doing well with that. Seth Magaziner, General Treasurer, is up in excess of 800,000. Mayor Alorza of Providence in excess of 600,000. Dan McKee, who has not been shy about saying he's interested in running for governor, is lagging behind at about 80,000. He's a lieutenant governor. So you watch that stuff early. You know, I know if I asked her, she'd say it's early. Not ready to do that yet. But she's actively out there fundraising, and that should tell you something.
And very important stuff. If you missed our conversation with the treasurer earlier this week, you can find that on whatsupnewp.com as well. And important deadlines, very important to be civic this month and next month and the following month, and vote and get the census information in.
Absolutely.
All right, Mr. President. Well, I want to thank you for joining me, and we will keep our political coverage. We will kick it back off on Tuesday when we are joined by Representative Lauren Carson from District 75 in Newport, as well as her Republican opponent, Patrick Donovan. We will have both of them on Tuesday. And Frank, I may have surprised you with that, but we're working on.
Oh, that's great. No, I love that. You know, it is terrific when you do them both in the same day. So
we'll be focused on District 75 Newport on Tuesday, and then we have about 105 other candidates to interview before November. That's a piece of cake.
Yeah.
All right, my friend.
Very good. Thank you.
All right. Thank you. And on behalf of Frank Prosnitz, as well as myself, I want to thank the Secretary of State for joining us to talk about these very important things. Find out more information on whatsupnewp.com.